William. I've never been a good dancer, but I know Rose loves it, so I let her drag me onto the dance floor. My eyes involuntarily admire her perfectly toned body. She's wearing a brown baseball cap pulled back, a black crop top, and tight blue jeans that show off her curves. We arrived in Miami just 4 hours ago and decided to check out the club at the resort. For Rose, this trip is a vacation, but for me, it is a work trip. My company sent me here to attend a training seminar. I decided to take my girlfriend with me and combine business with pleasure. Rose and I have been together for 3 years. We were both born and raised in Maryland, but our paths did not cross until we both moved to Massachusetts to attend Boston University. We met in third year, first running into each other at a local club near our dorms when she dragged me onto the dance floor. She is very outgoing, while I am more of an introvert. I think it helps us balance each other out. While I try to appreciate the time we spend alone, she helps me feel more comfortable in social situations and do things I wouldn't do on my own. I got a degree in graphic design and now work for a technology company. Rose received a degree in journalism. She works as a digital marketer for a fashion startup, helping develop advertising campaigns and manage social media. Rose is the most beautiful woman in the world. Yes, I may be a little biased. She is 165 centimeters tall, has golden brown hair, captivating brown eyes, and a perfectly toned body with seductive curves. My friends always joked that she was out of my league. I am 173 centimeters tall, of average build, with disheveled hair and an eternally youthful face, because there is no way I can grow a normal beard. The club is a hive of activity, full of the kind of people you'd expect to see in Miami, tanned, beautiful, and dressed to the nines. The air is saturated with the smell of expensive perfume and even more expensive alcohol. Rose and I push through the crowd, her hand clutching mine tightly. Usually such places are not for me, but seeing her face light up with delight is worth any inconvenience. She, like a child in a candy store, looks around the room with wide eyes. I let her lead the way on the dance floor, imitating her moves and giving her complete freedom. She grabs my arms and spins me around, laughing so contagiously that I can't help but laugh back. That's why I love her, for her ability to find joy in every moment and live without looking back. After a while, my legs begin to get tired, and we decide to sit down at a table. I catch the waitress's eye and order us a couple of drinks. Rose usually prefers cocktails, but today she is content with beer. The drinks arrive quickly and our glasses are soon empty. When I finish my drink, I notice that Rose's gaze is directed somewhere across the hall. I follow her gaze and see a group of men in suits sitting at the next table. They are looking at us, or rather at Rose. "Do you think these guys are looking at you?" I ask, raising an eyebrow. Rose laughs and waves it off. "Let them watch," she says, taking a sip from her glass. "We're on vacation, remember? Time for fun." She winks at me. "Well, you're on vacation," I mutter. But as the night goes on, I can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. Every time I look in their direction, one of them looks at us. And when our eyes meet, they don't look away like others would. Instead, they raise their glasses in a silent toast, a smirk on their lips. After several visits to the dance floor, I am ready to return to our room. I lean over to tell Rose this when I notice a stranger approaching us. A tall man in an expensive suit stands in front of us. His short, coarse hair accentuates his masculine features, and the thick fabric of his suit stretches over his clearly toned body. I recognized him immediately. He is one of those guys from the group who were watching us. "Good night," he says, revealing a snow-white smile. "I couldn't help but notice your charming companion. My name is Carlos." His accent is thick, soft, like velvet. He extends his hand to Rose, and she accepts it with grace. "What is your name, beautiful lady?" he asks with a honeyed voice. Rose smiles and answers confidently. "Hello, I'm Rose, and this is my boyfriend, William." She nods in my direction, and I also nod in greeting. Carlos' gaze lingers on me for a moment before returning to Rose. "Ah, William," he says, as if tasting the name. "Nice to meet you both." Rose, you look absolutely stunning. You're vacationing here, right? He settles down at our table as if he had been invited. I'm surprised by his audacity, but Rose seems amused. Yes, I'm resting, she replies, crossing her legs and leaning forward. William is here for work. We just arrived today. Understand? I'm here for work too, but I finished things yesterday, so I decided to spend the week enjoying my vacation, explains Carlos. I hope you enjoy Miami. There's a lot to see here, he says, and then looks at me. William, would you mind if I steal your girlfriend for one dance? I'm lost and don't know what to answer, but for some reason the words come out of my mouth. Certainly. Carlos extends his hand to Rose. She looks at me, smiles, and then takes his hand, and he leads her to the dance floor. I watch them dance. Carlos is a great dancer, smooth and confident, and Rose seems to be having fun. I feel a strange mixture of emotions. I'm jealous, yes, but at the same time, there's excitement coursing through my veins. I watch as Carlos twirls it, lowering it low and lifting it high. He's so close to her, their bodies are almost touching, and I can't help but feel a slight pang of arousal. I turn away, pretending to look around the room, trying to hide my feelings. But my eyes return to them again and again. Carlos's hand lingers on Rose's waist, his fingers spread wide enough to lightly brush against her skin. I see her pulse quicken, her chest rising and falling with every breath. She looks at him, her eyes shining with desire. Suddenly, 5 guys block my view. I raise my head and realize that these are the same men from Carlo's group who were previously looking at us from afar. One of them extends his hand. Hello, I'm Paul. I see our friend Carlos has already introduced himself. He seems to be having fun dancing with your adorable girlfriend. I was wondering if you would like to play billiards with me. These guys had already split into pairs, and I was left alone. Paul pats me on the shoulder, grinning. So what do you say? Will you join? I hesitate for a moment, leaning slightly to the side to look at Rose and Carlos again. They are still dancing, their bodies moving in perfect rhythm. I can feel the tension between them, even from here. All I do is just look at them. Gaming can be a good distraction. I take a deep breath and nod. Why not? Paul leads me to the pool table where the others are already setting up the balls. They greet me with friendly nods and handshakes, introducing themselves as Peter, John, Damien, and Steve. We break into tables, Paul against me. The game is tense but fun. I get into a competitive spirit, laughing and making fun of Paul. Every now and then I sneak a glance at Rose and Carlos, who are still dancing. Paul buys us all a drink, but announces that the loser will have to buy the winner a shot. The other guys nod approvingly, and I agree too. I learn more about them as I play. All the guys live in Los Angeles. They are investors and CEOs of large corporations. They have been friends for many years, but recently decided to open a business together. They signed some papers with a lawyer this afternoon. Paul doesn't go into detail, being deliberately vague, which I found odd. Paul is 45 years old and originally from Arizona. I joke with him about how the Arizona Cardinals lost the Super Bowl last year, and he laughs. For some strange reason, I feel like I'm back in college. Just an evening with the guys, games, jokes. Although I barely know these people, there is already a certain connection between us. At some point, I lose track of Rose. My anxiety rises, and I begin to look around the dance floor restlessly. I'm about to tell the guys that I have to go, but Paul puts his hand on my shoulder. You have several options here. If I were you, I'd hit the deuce so it would push the 6 straight into the pocket. Focus, you don't want to treat me to a shot, right? He smiles. I swallow, trying to push away the thoughts of where Rose is now. I concentrate on the game and take the winning shot, following Paul's advice. Yes, it worked. I won, I exclaim joyfully, throwing my fist into the air. The guys pat me on the back, congratulating me. Paul smiles and extends his hand. Looks like you hit the jackpot, buddy. But know that if I had not missed the last time, victory would have been mine. He laughs, shaking my hand. I'll be right back. Peter and Steve, who also lost, go with Paul to the bar to order shots. While I'm waiting for them to return, John and Damien strike up a conversation with me. Soon the guys return with a tray of shots. For the unluckiest billiard players in the world, Paul proclaims loudly. I laugh as Paul, Steve, and Peter drink their punishments. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice Rose. Carlos holds her hand as he walks towards us. She hugs me when she comes over. I must say, William, you are lucky. This woman really knows how to dance. Finding a partner who can keep up with me is rare. This is true. Usually Carlos leaves everyone in the shadows. But I admit, I'm surprised you let her dance with him all evening. He's known for loving. Close contact, Paul adds. I tense up, realizing how much this bothered me. Well, gentlemen, it was a pleasure, but I think Rose and I have to go. The guys look at each other, and a slight surprise flashes in their eyes. Of course, William, says Paul. We won't detain you. We're heading for the exit. Rose is silent, her hand squeezing mine tightly. She looks excited, and there is something new shining in her eyes, something secret. She pulls me towards her and kisses me passionately. Let's go to the room, she whispers, smiling with a mysterious twinkle in her eyes. She smiles, but there is a sparkle in her eyes that I haven't seen before. It's like she has a secret, and it makes my blood boil. I grab her hand, leading her to the exit. Good night, guys, I muttered to the others, barely registering their goodbyes. My mind is filled with the image of Rose humping Carlos on the dance floor. I hope no one notices the bulge in my pants. As soon as we return to the room, I hug her and hold her close, unable to contain my feelings. My fingers gently plunge into her hair, and our lips meet in a passionate kiss. At this moment, the whole world ceases to exist, only she and I. Her gaze is filled with trust and something else, something that makes my heart beat faster. I feel her breath, hear the beat of her heart, and the light aroma of her perfume makes my head spin. We sink onto the bed, entwined in embrace. Every touch is filled with tenderness and awe. Our movements are becoming more and more bold, but at the same time careful. In every gesture, there is something more than a simple desire. It is a deep connection that cannot be expressed in words. When we finally stand still next to each other, covered with a soft blanket, I feel her head resting on my chest. Our breathing gradually calms down, and the fatigue of a long day takes its toll. I hug her tighter, feeling that this moment is real happiness. Soon sleep overtakes us both, leaving only silence in the room and a slight flicker of light from behind the curtain. Rose. My eyes open to the soft morning light filtering through the curtains. I'm stretching. My muscles are pleasantly sore after yesterday's dance. William is still sleeping next to me, his chest rising and falling rhythmically. It's nice to me. I rise to my elbow, watching him in his sleep. His dark hair is disheveled, his sharp features softened by the early morning light. I notice the time on the old alarm clocks lying on the nightstand, 8:15. William must be in the exhibition hall for a seminar by 9. I reach out, tracing the line of his jaw with my fingertips. He stirs slightly, his eyes opening and meeting mine. Good morning, he mutters, a small smile playing on his lips. Good morning, I reply, leaning down to kiss him tenderly. He deepens the kiss, his hand tangling in my hair, but I pull away after a moment. You need to prepare for the seminar, I reminded him, pointing to my watch. He turns to look at the time, then groans and throws himself back onto the pillow. Slowly but surely, he gets out of bed and jumps into the shower. I doze off and on while he gets ready for work. By 8:50, I get out of bed and kiss him goodbye. Good luck today, honey, I say. Thank you. It's a pity that I have to go. I would like to spend the day with you. What are your plans for today? He asks. I have no idea. Maybe I'll take a little walk. There are many shops nearby. We hug again, after which William leaves the room. Although I'm not sure what I'll do today, I decided to take a shower. I take off my clothes and step into the warm water, letting it wash away the remnants of last night. I lather my body, running my hands along my curves, remembering Carlos' touch. I yawn at the memories, pushing them aside as I rinse off the foam and step out of the shower. I wrap myself in a fluffy towel and go to the mirror to brush my teeth and comb my hair. When I finish, I throw in the towel and stand naked in front of the mirror, looking at my reflection. I run my hands over my body again, this time with a critical eye. I've always been confident in my appearance, but last night with Carlos I felt different, desired like never before. I shake my head, dismissing the thought. I'm with William, I remind myself. I wear a white t-shirt and green jeans. Love how they highlight my butt. Suddenly, I hear my phone vibrate, and as I pick it up, I see a message from an unknown number. Good morning, beauty. I enjoyed dancing with you last night. Our bodies merged together so much, it was magical. The boys and I are going to this chic French cafe and bakery for breakfast. Would you like to join us? After all that dancing, your body probably deserves a fancy breakfast. There's a fire burning inside of me. I know it's from Carlos. I remember giving him my number before we went looking for William. My mind is telling me to decline the invitation, maybe not even respond. But something inside me says to go. It's just breakfast, and the other guys from last night will be there, so I won't be alone with Carlos. It's not a big problem. Better than eating alone. It's just brunch, right? William. 3 hours into the seminar, and it was more boring than I thought it would be. We're finally allowed out for a break, and I sit in the hotel lobby to text Rose. Hi, darling, how are you? We were just let out for a break, and I was wondering if you would like to grab a bite to eat together. I text and use my phone to find nearby restaurants. After 15 minutes of no response, I decided to call her. The call goes to voicemail after a few rings. I'm starting to worry, so I head to the elevator to go back to our room. When I reach our floor, I enter the room and see that it is empty. I take out my phone to call her again when a message arrives. Sorry for the late reply, my phone was in my bag and silent. I'm at the mall now with the guys we met last night. I don't think we can have lunch today, maybe tomorrow. The shopping center is about 20 minutes from the hotel. I don't even notice how my jaw hangs. I answer her. Are you with the guys from last night? How did this happen? Her answer comes almost instantly. I gave Carlos my number last night. Sorry, I forgot to say. He said he and the boys were going shopping and asked if I wanted to join. You know me, I love shopping. We have to get home before you finish work. I scratch my head, nervous about her spending time with men we barely know. I mean, they seemed cool, but how much can you really get to know a person in one night? I send her a message. Okay, just be careful. Let me know if any of them try anything. We just met. I don't know if I can trust them. Text me when you get to our room. I'm going to grab something for lunch. See you soon. I love you. I leave the hotel and head to a 4-star restaurant I found on Google. I'm trying to eat as quickly as possible, but the whole time my mind is running around what Rose is doing with these investors. Something about the way they looked at her last night scares me. The thought of Rose spending time with this mysterious group of rich men makes me uncomfortable. I return to the seminar, but my mind is not there. My thoughts are on the mall that Rose was talking about. I walk out of the conference room, feeling the tension come in waves. Images of Rose flash through my head again and again, her smile, her look, those moments when she was only mine. Jealousy and desire intertwine, forming a tight knot in the chest. Once in the men's room, I walk into an empty booth and close the door behind me. Standing with my back to the cool tiles, I try to breathe deeply, calming the storm inside. Scenes still flash in my head that I shouldn't imagine. I run my hand over my face, trying to come to my senses. Damn, Rose. I whisper quietly, closing my eyes. Minutes pass in an attempt to pull myself together, to regain control over my own thoughts. Eventually, I sigh, recover, clean myself up, and return to the others, hoping that there are no traces of this short respite left on my face. 4 agonizingly long hours pass, and I head to the room. I walk in and find Rose in the bathroom trying on earrings. Hello, dear, she says, coming up and kissing me. How was the seminar? Was everything the way you always dreamed? She laughs. All this and more, I laugh. How was your day, and why did you give Carlos your number last night? This morning you said you had no plans. Why didn't you tell me that Carlos invited you to the mall? I don't realize that I just asked a million questions. She goes back to the mirror to put on another earring. I honestly forgot that I gave him my number. I only remembered when he texted me this morning. It was in the heat of the moment. We were dancing, having a good time. He asked for my number, and I didn't think twice about it. He asked me about the mall after you had already left. It was just at the last minute. What do you think of these earrings? Rose asks, turning to show me the tiny earrings adorning her earlobes. I looked at them curiously. They're beautiful, I said, trying to sound casual. Carlos bought them for me, she said, her eyes shining with pride. Oh, really? It's nice, I replied. But why would Carlos buy my girlfriend earrings? They were quite expensive, she admitted embarrassedly, but I couldn't resist. He has such good taste. I nodded, pretending to be interested as she began to tell me more about her shopping trip with Carlos and the other investors. I felt a certain tension in her voice, and I couldn't help but feel a pulse of jealousy. What else did you buy when you were on the street? I asked. Too much, Rose laughs. She comes out of the bathroom, and at that moment I notice a pile of bags on the extra bed. Crap, how much did you spend? Technically, I only bought one thing. She pulls out a light green sweater. I thought he was cute. That's all you bought? Then what is all this? I point to the pile of bags on the bed. Well, the guys bought me everything else, she says, and I feel the guilt in her voice. Wait, what? What do you mean? Why did they buy you all this? I know, really, I didn't ask them to buy me anything, but they insisted. When we first arrived, they warned me that this was a super high-end shopping center, so I didn't plan on buying anything. I would try things out, and if the guys liked something, they would insist on buying it for me. She pauses, thinking. You know, the trip kind of turned into a giant shopping spree, she laughs. How are we going to bring all this home? There is as little space in our suitcase as there is. I told them it would be a problem, but they said they had no problem shipping anything I couldn't fit in my suitcase to my apartment. This is so strange. I don't trust these guys. Why did they buy you all this? Everything has a price. Rose, you haven't cheated on me. Rose hugs me. No, of course not. I myself don't understand why they bought me so many clothes. It seems to me that these men simply have too much money and they don't know what to do with it. She feels so good in my arms that it almost drives away my jealousy and confusion. Almost. We went shopping all day. They chose outfits for me, offered to try them on, and if they liked them, they bought them. You know, our trip turned into a giant fashion show for me. I could feel the tension building in the room. I know it looks weird, but I promise nothing happened. They're just very generous people, Will. I don't know why they did it, but I'm grateful to them. It was clear that they were enjoying it, as if they had taken me under their wing. I look at her and my mind races to find answers. I can't shake the feeling of betrayal, even though I have not a single piece of evidence of any wrongdoing. I don't trust these men, and the thought of Rose spending time with them without me worries me. I noticed a slight blush on her cheeks and understood that she sensed my concern. What's wrong? She asks softly. I just can't shake the feeling of jealousy, I guess, I admit, looking away from her hopeful gaze. It's not that I don't trust you, because I do. It's just, these men, they're much older than you. They have a lot of money and power. They shower you with gifts, attention. I can't help but feel a little hurt. But at the same time, something about this whole situation actually turns me on. I sigh. Imagine you with them, with these high-class people who obviously find you attractive. I can't help but think about how you could do indecent things with them. Now I'm blushing. Rose steps forward and places a calming hand on my shoulder. I understand where this is coming from, really, but I promise nothing happened between us. They were just being friendly and generous. Yes, they may have a lot of money and power, but that doesn't mean they were trying to buy my affection. I'm with you, Will. Rose kisses me softly on the lips. I think you might even get along. Wouldn't it be great to have rich friends? Before we left, they said that if we didn't have plans for the evening, we could join them at a club nearby. I think this could be fun. I don't think we should communicate with them anymore. It's better to end this now before anything happens, I say. I hope she doesn't notice how nervous I am. But you just said it turns you on, didn't you? She asks with a grin. I said. She teases me with it. I think we should go. Once you get to know them better, you'll like them, I'm sure. Heck, they might even be able to give you advice on how to advance your career. Perhaps they will offer you a higher-paying job. Networking is the key to success in business, right? Rose says excitedly, her eyes sparkling. This phrase is forever etched in our memory. Our old professor, Professor Banks, repeated it all the time. Who knows, maybe they will introduce us to interesting people. Come on, William, live your life to the fullest, I sigh. After all, we are in Miami. What else is there to do if not hang out? This makes us both laugh. But inside, I'm seething. I smile, trying to hide my anxiety. Rose nods, a smile lighting up her face. That's it. I hesitate for a moment and then nod. Okay, let's go. Rose screams with delight and kisses me. Thank you, I promise you will like it. Now we need to have dinner before we go. After some debate about what to eat, we decided to try a local Mexican restaurant, just a couple of blocks away. When evening comes, we begin to prepare to go out. While Rose changes in the bathroom, I throw on a white t-shirt and a cheap jacket. When Rose comes out of the bathroom, my jaw drops. She is wearing a sheer, long-sleeved crop top with a white crop top underneath. Below is a tight black skirt and checkered knee socks. On my wrists shine chains that I have never seen before, probably another gift from those men. I don't remember the last time she dressed so sexy. Do you like it? Rose asks. Yes, I can't find the words. You look amazing, she blushes. Thank you. The guys chose this outfit for me today. They said if we decide to go to a club, I should be in it. Jealousy boils inside me again. These men chose this outfit for her. She put it on for them. Not for herself and not for me. For them. When we approach the club, it turns out to be much less prestigious than I expected. It was a dirty establishment that left you feeling sticky and unpleasant immediately upon entering. The air was thick with cigarette smoke and cheap perfume, and the floor was slippery with spilled drinks. At the entrance stood a huge bald bouncer with a thick beard, wearing a black t-shirt that stretched over his bulging muscles. He glanced at us briefly, waved his hand, allowing us to enter, and I noticed the outline of a pistol sticking out from the waistband of his pants. As we headed to the bar, I couldn't help but feel out of place. This is not my environment at all, and I felt like a fish out of water, among the crowds of women in revealing clothes and rough-looking men. I noticed Paul sitting at the table to the right with the rest of the guys from yesterday. All the seats were taken, so I took 2 empty chairs and Rose, and I snuggled into them. Paul was next to me and Carlos was next to Rose. I greeted the group, and they greeted us warmly with energetic handshakes and hugs. Paul signaled to the waitress, and soon a round stack of drinks appeared in front of us. I settled on a beer, and Rose indulged in a fruit cocktail. I looked around. I have to say, I didn't expect you to come to such a place. I was imagining a more, I don't know, luxurious place. Something private where you talk about stocks and assets all the time. I couldn't resist and made a little joke. This made them laugh. We are very lucky. Yes, we usually go to places like this. I prefer them. Classic and sophisticated high life light. But tonight is anything but classic. The mood today is dirty and raunchy, Paul says with a grin on his face. I was puzzled by his words, but did not ask questions. The conversation was light and relaxed, moving from topic to topic with natural grace. The guys were witty and charming, and I actually laughed along with them as my initial doubts gradually disappeared. They were interested in our life in Maryland, our hobbies, jobs, etc. As the evening wore on, the laughter grew louder and the drinks kept coming. Rose was glowing, her eyes sparkling with mischief as she unabashedly gave most of her attention to Carlos. "I'd like to take you to the dance floor again," Carlos tells her. She looks at me, waiting for approval. I nod my head. "Go ahead," Rose says. Carlos grabs her hand, and they walk to the dance floor together. "I have to say, you have an amazing woman, William," Paul says as he watches them leave. I see his eyes focused on her butt. "She's really beautiful." "You don't need to tell me twice. She's one of a kind." I take a sip of my beer as I watch them start dancing. They are immersed in their own world, completely oblivious to others on the dance floor. I return my attention to the table, engaging in small talk with the other investors. After a few songs, Rose and Carlos return to the table, both rosy-cheeked and smiling. "It was so much fun," Rose exclaims, cooling herself with her hand. Carlos calls the waitress and orders another round of drinks for everyone. Over the course of the evening, Rose and Carlos move back and forth from the table to the dance floor. I'm quickly starting to lose track of how many beers I've had. One time, after Rose and Carlos have left for another dance, Paul leans back in his chair. "You know, I wanted to play shuffleboard all night. Who wants to play?" he suggests, raising an eyebrow. The other guys look at each other and grin. "Hell yes," Damien says. The others nod their heads. They stand up, and I walk with them to the shuffleboard table. I look back at Rose, still dancing with Carlos. His hands are on her hips, moving in time with hers. I turn my attention back to the game, trying to focus on the small, heavy disc in my hand. I slid it across the table, watching it roll toward the three-point zone. I overestimated my strength, and the disc flew off the table. The guys laugh, and I join them, shaking my head. "Not as good at shuffleboard as you are at pool, huh?" he grins. The game continues, and I sneak a glance at Rose and Carlos. Her back is facing him, her butt touching his groin. Their bodies are pressed against each other, moving as one. I can't help but feel a little jealousy, but also a spark of something else, excitement, perhaps. I try to push the thought away by concentrating on the game. Suddenly, I see Carlos's hand move from Rose's hip, sliding down her thigh. My heart pounds in my chest, and I strain my eyes to see what's happening. Then his hand appears to disappear. Is it under her skirt? I see Carlos leaning towards her ear and whispering something. A group of people walk onto the dance floor and block my view. As they pass, Carlos' hand is back on Rose's thigh. I breathe a sigh of relief, but doubt has already been sown. I finish the game, trying to maintain my composure, but my thoughts are elsewhere. Paul wins and I lose. When we finish, Paul puts his hand on my back. "Great game, William. Ready to go back?" We return to the table, and Rose and Carlos are already there, deep in conversation. Paul sits next to Rose and Stevie sits next to Carlos, leaving me with the option of only sitting opposite my girlfriend. I force a smile, trying to hide my inner excitement. My head is spinning, and I can't concentrate on conversations. I quietly curse myself for drinking so much. I try to focus on Rose's beautiful face. I notice that she is staring blankly into space. Her thoughts are somewhere else. Then I notice that Carlos's hand hasn't been above the table for a long time. I look at him, and he grins, leaning back in his chair. His hand is hidden under the table, and I see Rose's body tense slightly. Is he touching her? I think to myself, no, impossible. Rose won't allow that. Not my sweet Rose. I can't see anything, but I can see Rose breathing raggedly, her cheeks flushed. She catches my eye and smiles, but it's forced, and I can see the tension in her shoulders. I feel a surge of anger and envy, but also a strange, twisted excitement. I want to confront him, demand that he stop, but I am frozen in place, unable to move or speak. I watch Rose's eyes close and her body sway slightly. Whatever he does to her is clearly affecting her. I feel a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, a mixture of fear and excitement. I can't tell how much time has passed, but I manage to drink another beer before Carlos gets up. He extends his hand to Rose. "One more dance, darling." Rose takes it without looking at me for approval, and they leave the table. Damien asks me if I watch the NBA, and when I say yes, A new conversation begins. I lose sight of Rose, and looking at the crowded dance floor, I feel dizzy. The room around me becomes blurry, but I subconsciously continue to drink. Suddenly, I feel the urge to go to the toilet and excuse myself to the table. I make my way through the crowd, heading towards the toilets. There's a line in the men's restrooms, so I lean against the wall while I wait my turn. While I'm standing there, I hear a noise coming from the room behind me. It sounds like a girl moaning, and it is undoubtedly the sound of sex. My heart starts beating faster, and I strain my ears to hear better. The moans become louder, more insistent, and I hear the rhythmic stomping of bodies against each other. I feel arousal in my clothes, my own attraction reacting to the sounds coming from behind the closed door. Moans come from the woman, and she is clearly enjoying herself. I correct myself, trying to ignore my growing excitement. Finally, it's my turn to use the toilet. I make quick work of it, washing my hands and splashing some water on my face to sober up a little. I leave the toilet and return to the table. After some time, Rose and Carlos return to the table, holding hands. Rose's hair is disheveled. She looks embarrassed. Her cheeks are rosy. Carlos has a smug grin on his face, and I can't help but feel a surge of anxiety. She sits down opposite me again. Without realizing it, my body begins to slowly lean towards Damien, and my eyes begin to close. I can hear Paul laughing. Looks like someone drank way more than they could handle. Everyone at the table laughs. I can even hear Rose's soft, gentle laugh. How about we take this guy home? Everyone agrees, and Paul pays the bill for all of us. Rose and Damien grab me from both sides and help me walk to the hotel. I stumble and mutter something inarticulate, barely keeping my eyes open. As we enter the hall, I notice Carlos whispering something in Rose's ear. She looks at me, then back at him, nodding slightly. I try to call out to her, to ask what's going on, but my tongue seems thick and immobile in my mouth. The next moment, Rose is already leading me to the elevator. "Let's go, honey," she says in a soft, gentle voice. "Let's put you to bed." I mutter something incomprehensible as we step into the elevator and the doors close behind us. Rose presses the button for our floor, and I lean against the wall, trying my best to keep my eyes open. I feel the elevator moving, but it feels like we're floating in zero gravity. I blink, trying to focus on Rose's face, but it's blurry, as if underwater. "We're there," she says, her voice echoing in my ears. The elevator doors open, and she leads me down the hallway with her arm around my waist. The smell of cologne hits my nose, and it's not mine. I can hear my own breathing, loud and heavy, like I just ran a marathon. I feel like I'm about to lose consciousness. We finally reach our room, and Rose fumbles with the key card, trying to open the door. I lean against the wall, my eyes close. "Come on, Will," she says excitedly. "Help me put you to bed." Somehow, we stumble into the room, and Rose helps me collapse onto the bed. She begins to undress me, taking off my shirt and jeans. Her movements are slow and careful. I try to help, but my limbs are as heavy as lead, and I can barely lift my arms. Finally, she leaves me in just my boxers, covers me with a blanket up to my chin, and adjusts it. I mutter something unintelligible, my eyes slowly closing. When I'm almost falling asleep, I hear her voice, distant and muffled. "Hey, Will, are you awake?" I force my eyes open, squinting, trying to see her. She stands above me, her face blurred and unclear. "I'm not very tired yet," she says, barely audible. "Carlos invited me to have a couple more cocktails with him. Do you mind if I go?" Her words do not immediately reach me. I look at her, and my brain thinks slowly and sluggishly. "Go have fun," I mutter, having difficulty pronouncing the words. "Just be careful, okay?" I close my eyes, already half asleep. I hear her soft steps as she leaves the room and the sound of the door closing. I hear Rose whisper, "I love you," and I fall asleep. The sound of a whisper pulls me out of the embrace of sleep. I hardly open my eyes and look at the clock on the nightstand. 3 o'clock in the morning. I strain my ears, trying to make out something. There is a light knock on the door. I listen, and hear subtle sounds similar to kisses. Then everything goes quiet. The door opens and the light turns on in the bathroom. There is a lot of noise and knocking there. I fight the urge to go back to sleep until Rose comes out of the bathroom and collapses on the bed next to me. The next second, I fall into deep sleep again. I wake up at 7 in the morning with one of the worst headaches I've had in a long time. My head is pounding and my mouth is as dry as the Sahara Desert. I groan, sitting up on the bed and rubbing my temples. I look at Rose, still sleeping peacefully next to me, and feel a pang of guilt for drinking so much last night. I remember almost nothing. But there is no time to think. I try to get over my hangover, shower, clean up, and by 8:56, I'm ready to go. I kiss Rose goodbye. "Good luck today, honey." "I love you," she says in her soft voice, and I smile. Taking a deep breath, I leave for the seminar. Rose. As soon as Will leaves, the room falls silent. I try to go back to sleep, but I'm filled with mixed feelings. After a few minutes of tossing and turning, I realize I won't be able to sleep again and decide to get ready. While I'm putting myself in order, the events of yesterday pop up in my head. Brunch set the mood for the whole day. I thought I would feel awkward around Carlos, whom I barely knew, and his friends, who were even more strangers to me. To my surprise, I felt comfortable. They were friendly and showed genuine interest in me, which I really appreciated. It's nice to feel wanted. As we finished breakfast, Paul suggested we stop by the mall and asked if I wanted to join. I had so much fun with them, and I love shopping, so I decided, why not? They didn't warn me it was a luxury mall until we got there. I was a little upset, but I told myself that I would just window shop. This idea lasted until about 2 stores. I found a cute green top that I couldn't resist. The guys also encouraged me to buy it. It cost $148, but I told myself I would allow myself something for the holidays, and that it would be the last thing I bought. We visited a few more stores, and then the men realized that I was serious about no more shopping. They started picking out clothes for me that they thought would suit me. I played along with them, agreeing to try on the proposed outfits. I liked it. They were so confident in their choices, and I have to admit they had great taste in fashion. Every outfit they put together accentuated my curves in the right places, making me feel sexy and confident. I saw the appreciation in their eyes as I tried on each item of clothing, twirled and struck poses. It was like playing dress-up, and I loved seeing their reactions to each outfit. They admired me, saying how sexy I looked in this or that. I wasn't blind to their flirtatious comments, I just chalked them up to harmless fun. As the day went on, the clothes they picked out became increasingly risque. From cute vintage tops to summer dresses and bikinis. The first time they chose a 2-piece bikini, it made me laugh. "Guys, I'm not sure if this is appropriate." I started, but Paul waved me away with his hand. "Nonsense, Rose. We're all friends here. Besides, we want you to wear something that flatters your figure. You have nothing to be ashamed of." I pursed my lips, thinking, after all, it's just a bikini. And they were right, I have a great body. So I agreed, and they were happy. It was like a show, and they were my audience, hungry for more. Carlos, who seemed to take a special interest in me, whispered in my ear, "You look amazing, Rose." His breath tickled my neck, and I shuddered, feeling a wave of excitement. I blushed, not knowing how to answer. "Thank you," I stammered, my voice barely audible. He smiled, and I saw desire in his eyes. Paul chimed in, "I agree with Carlos. You look great, and those legs of yours." He pointed at my bare thighs. "Perfect." I felt my face turn even redder and saw the other men exchange glances. They seemed to be sizing me up, and I couldn't deny that I was enjoying the attention. There was something exciting about being desired, and these men definitely made me feel wanted. I felt butterflies in my stomach as I thought about what could happen if things went any further. But I quickly pushed the thought away, reminding myself that I was in a relationship with William. The guys told me that they were going to a club tonight and offered to pick out a club outfit for me. So I tried on a lot of outfits. Their favorite was this sheer crop top. I never thought I'd wear something like that, but they suggested I wear a white tank top underneath so I wasn't completely naked. This includes a black skirt and knee-high plaid socks. Paul suggested that I also try a thong, which I thought was crossing the line, but for some reason I found myself changing into them. They really liked the black skirt. I remember I was about to change back into regular clothes when Paul stopped me. "Wait," he said. He came up to me. I turned around and saw him smiling. "Bend over. We want to see how this thong looks on you." I hesitated, but before I could do anything, I felt his hand on my back. I obeyed and slowly leaned down. He then lifted my shirt a little and showed my ass to all his friends. They really liked it. I returned to the fitting room, blushing deeply. This is so wrong, but why do I like it? I thought. When the guys asked me to go to the club with them, I didn't think I could convince Will to go. But somehow I succeeded, and after that everything changed. They told me to wear the sheer top they chose along with a black thong. I even wore some of the bracelets they bought me. If Will had known the price of them, he probably would have dropped dead. I enjoyed dancing with Carlos again, but as the evening went on, we became more and more intimate on the dance floor. Alcohol relaxed me a little. At some point, Carlos' hand slid lower from my waist, pulling me closer to him. Our bodies touched, and I felt his confident movements and the warmth emanating from him. His gaze was piercing, and his breath was hot and close. For a moment, everything around us disappeared. The noisy crowd, the music, the flickering lights, only the two of us were left on the dance floor. I quickly came to my senses and started looking for Will. He was engrossed in playing shuffleboard, oblivious to what was happening around him. Carlos did not waste time. His movements remained confident, and we continued to dance, lost in the rhythm of the music and mutual attraction. When we returned to the table, the others were not there yet. We took advantage of this short pause to talk a little. There was confidence in his voice, and there was a spark in his smile that made your heart beat faster. Soon the others returned, and a lively conversation broke out around the table. However, even among the general noise, I felt his presence nearby, his subtle gestures that made my heart flutter. Will seemed to notice something, but I tried to remain calm, holding back a smile. The atmosphere was tense not only because of the hot Miami night. My gaze sometimes involuntarily slid to Carlos, and at such moments he looked at me as if there was a whole world between us, accessible only to the two of us. My pulse accelerated, and my cheeks flushed with a mixture of excitement and some inexplicable delight. Poor Will, I thought. I couldn't help but wonder what he would think if he knew what was going on underneath him. Why do I let my man do this to me? This doesn't look like me at all. The feeling of Carlos's closeness was overwhelming, and I couldn't help the trembling that ran through my entire body. I quickly took a deep breath, hoping no one noticed my nervousness. But looking around the table, I saw that everyone was too engrossed in their conversations to pay attention to me. Carlos leaned towards me and whispered, "One more dance, honey." It was more of a statement than a question, and I couldn't and didn't want to refuse. His voice sounded so confident and calm that I involuntarily followed him. We went out onto the dance floor, and he confidently led me in the dance. My heart was beating wildly in my chest, and my thoughts were confused by this strange mixture of excitement and fascination. There was confidence in his gaze, and his movements were so smooth and natural that I forgot about everything in the world. His hands gently slid along my waist, guiding every step, and I allowed myself to drown in this moment. The whole world around seemed to dissolve, only music, dance, and Carlos remained. Something about it was almost hypnotic, and I could not and did not want to escape from this enchanting whirlwind. As the song ended, Carlos leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Come with me, Rose. Let me finish what I started at the table." I hesitated for a moment, but then nodded, unable to resist the temptation. Carlos took my hand and led me off the noisy dance floor to the door next to the bathroom. He opened it and pulled me inside, closing the door behind him. The room was dimly lit. There was a small sofa and several chairs scattered around. Carlos wasted no time. He pulled me towards him and kissed me, his lips insistent and burning. I responded to his kiss, my hands carefully sliding over his broad chest. His breathing quickened and fire flared in his eyes. He pulled back for a moment to look at me, and then his lips touched my neck, leaving soft kisses. I closed my eyes, enjoying every touch of him. His hands confidently but carefully slid over my body, leaving hot trails behind them. The atmosphere between us became tense. The tension was almost palpable. He hugged me tighter, his breath burning my skin. Time seemed to slow down, every moment filled with anticipation and inexplicable intimacy. Our bodies moved in unison, and the world around us ceased to exist. It seemed that only the two of us remained in this room at this moment. When it was all over, I pressed myself against him, feeling the warmth of his body. He ran his hand through my hair and looked into my eyes, his gaze soft and gentle. At that moment, I felt infinitely close to him, and my heart was still pounding wildly in my chest. "You are incredible," he whispered. I smiled and closed my eyes, allowing this moment to remain in my memory for a long time. After that, we didn't talk much. We just stood there, breathing heavily, trying to come to our senses. We went our separate ways to the bathroom to freshen up and return to the table. I realized that Will was very drunk, and, with the help of Damien, I had to help him get home. When we got to the lobby, Carlos whispered in my ear, "When you settle things with your boyfriend, come to my room. I'm not done with you yet. Will text you the room number soon." All the way from the elevator to getting Willa settled, my mind was racing between thoughts of what I should do. But my desires took over. He sent me the room number, and I headed there. Carlos opened the door, an evil smile stretched across his face. "Rose, you're here," he said, his voice low and hoarse. Before I could respond, he grabbed me by the waist and pulled me inside, locking the door behind him. His hands were everywhere, greedy and desperate. He pushed me against the wall, his mouth crushing mine in a passionate kiss. I could taste the alcohol on his breath. I was as desirable as he was. Carlos looked at me with naked desire in his eyes. His gaze was burning, and his movements were persistent and confident. He pulled me towards him. His embrace was tight, almost mesmerizing. The soft lighting of the room emphasized every feature of his face, and the silence around made our breathing especially loud. He leaned towards me, his lips finding mine in a long and sensual kiss. The whole world seemed to dissolve around us, only he and I remained. His hands slid down my back, pressing me even closer to him. I felt his confidence and strength in every movement. We found ourselves on the bed, the soft mattress giving way under our weight. Carlos was nearby, his proximity filled the entire space around. His touch was gentle, but at the same time decisive, awakening a whirlwind of emotions within me. He looked at me as if trying to remember every detail, every feature. Time has lost its meaning. At that moment, only we existed. His voice was low and hoarse as he said my name, making me tremble at the sound alone. We merged together, forgetting about everything except what was happening between us. When it was all over, we lay side by side, tired and peaceful. Silence enveloped us again, but now it was filled with something special, warm and real. Carlos hugged me, his fingers gently brushing the strands of my hair. I closed my eyes, enjoying this moment of intimacy and trust that seemed to last forever. And this went on all night. We had sex like animals. Our bodies were glistening with sweat and desire. We didn't stop until 3 a.m., when Carlos finally collapsed on the bed next to me, chest heaving. I lay there, looking at the ceiling, my body hurting like never before. I knew I should feel guilty, but at that moment all I felt was euphoria. Carlos walked me back to my room, where we kissed a little more. He pressed me against the door, and I hoped Will wouldn't hear. After we exchanged our final goodbyes, I entered the room and immediately went to the bathroom, trying to clean myself up. She carefully walked towards the bed and tried to sleep. My phone vibrated, and I was brought back to reality. I picked it up and saw a message from Carlos. "Good morning, Rose. I hope you were able to rest after our fun together. The guys are leaving for brunch soon. We're not going to some fancy establishments today. We're going somewhere better. At IHOP, they have excellent pancakes. What can I say? We'd love for you to join us. I stared at the message, my heart pounding in my chest. I can't believe he's asking me out again, especially after what happened last night. Do the other guys know? Is this some kind of test? Or worse, a trap? My mind raced with questions, each one becoming more paranoid. I shouldn't go. I know I shouldn't. But as I reread the message, I can't ignore the trepidation that runs through me at the thought of spending more time with them. The way they made me feel yesterday, alive, wanted, seen. It's intoxicating. Guilt tormented me, but so did curiosity. I found myself typing out a response before I could talk myself out of it. Sounds great. When are you leaving? I press send, my heart pounding in my chest. I can't believe I'm doing this. But as I wait for Carlos' answer, I can't deny the trepidation that runs through me. I'm playing with fire, and I know it. But I can't stop myself. What's wrong with me? My phone beeped again. Great. Meet me in the lobby in about 30 minutes. I can't wait to see you again, sexy. William. It's such a beautiful morning here in Miami that working is the last thing I want to do. I'd rather spend the day outside with Rose, exploring the city, relaxing on the beach, maybe even renting a jet ski for us. But instead, I'm stuck here in this hotel, dressed in a shirt and khakis, trying not to go crazy. Today's seminar turned out to be an even greater punishment than yesterday's. The topic is dedicated to team training. We were divided into small groups and forced to do team exercises. One of them included the practice of interpersonal communication. Each of us received cards with difficult topics, and we had to discuss them with the team. At my job, we work in cross-functional teams, so you'd think this training would be helpful, right? But in reality, it's just a huge waste of time. The work atmosphere at our place is very informal, and we talk to each other like friends. Damn whoever at the top decided that this was a mandatory requirement. As soon as the organizer allowed us to go to lunch, I called Rose. She answered on the first ring. Hey love, I hope your day is going smoothly. What are you doing? She said on the phone. She has the voice of an angel. Hey honey, we just went on break. Would you like to have lunch together? I asked. Yeah, sounds great. Give me a couple of minutes, and I'll meet you in the lobby. I smiled, knowing that meant she wasn't hanging out with those investors again. Yesterday's lunch was lonely, and I was so lost in my thoughts, coming up with scenarios of what she could do with them. Why did thinking about Rose sleeping with these guys make me horny? I had not yet had time to understand why these thoughts excited me so much. But this was the most exciting I had felt in a long time. Never in my life have I locked myself in a public toilet. I don't know what came over me that day. I just couldn't handle it. Come to think of it, this isn't the only time I've felt this way. Strangely, I maintained an erection when I was with Rose sometimes. I've always noticed how men's eyes wander over her body, especially if she wears more revealing clothes. Rose loves crop tops. In fact, it's probably the most common item of clothing I see her wearing. Sometimes I feel insecure and inferior being with someone like her. When other men look at her, I can't help but think that they can give her more pleasure than I ever could. I have always been insecure about the size of my penis. Although it is not small, it is medium. Barely reaches 5 inches. I've asked Rose many times if she's happy with my size, and she always laughs and brushes it off. She tells me that it's okay and that size doesn't matter, emphasizing that she loves my size. God, she's too kind. I thought, how could I even fantasize about this sweet, innocent girl having sex with rich, old men? I shook my head, hoping that would clear my mind for a while. Rose came down wearing a cute blue t-shirt with black sweatpants, and we headed to an Italian place I found on Google. The aroma of garlic bread and marinara sauce greeted us as we walked inside. We sat down on a cozy sofa by the window, overlooking the bustling street outside. After looking at the menu, we decided to share a caprese salad as an appetizer, and then I ordered the cheese ravioli and Rose the margarita. While we waited for our food, we clinked glasses of Prosecco, and Rose asked about my day. I snorted dramatically. That was torture. Team-building exercises and icebreakers all morning. I'd rather be stuck in traffic. In fact, I'd rather be hit by a car. She laughed. Well, at least now you're making the most of your time. I had a pretty lazy day. I raised an eyebrow. You haven't explored the city at all? Before she could respond, the waitress approached us with our main courses. After we've taken a few bites, she continues. Not good. I overslept, and then Carlos invited me back to brunch with the guys. My muscles tense. I was hoping we wouldn't hear from them again last night. I still don't trust these guys. I remember almost nothing from last night. The only moments I can remember are playing marbles, going to the toilet, and lying in bed. I really allowed myself to relax. Was it an ego problem? Did I feel insecure around them and try to outdrink them? I also remember feeling angry towards one of them, but I can't remember why. Did you go with them again? Why am I never included in these discussions? I ask, irritated. The guys wake up later than you because they are on vacation. If you didn't have to go to work so early, you could come. You know me, I'm very sociable. I like to spend time with them. It's better than being alone all day. I feel a little pang in her last sentence, and I feel sick. I know she wants to spend time with me in Miami, but I'm working. I feel like, I sigh. Look, the number of times these guys contacted you, even though we just met them, seems strange to me. I think Carlos is trying to get closer to you and is using his friends to convince you to meet up. I don't remember much from last night. I know I probably talked to them a lot, you know. It's better to get to know them, but I just don't remember a lot. Rose grabs my hand. Will, listen to me. Everything is fine. I promise. I'm just having fun, that's all. You don't have to worry about me or these guys. I can handle it myself. I look into her eyes, looking for signs of deception. But all I see is sincerity. I take a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. I know you can, Rose. I don't know. I guess I'm feeling a little defensive. These guys are strangers, and they seem to be taking too much interest in you. She smiles softly, squeezing my hand. I appreciate your concern, I really do. But you have to trust me. Nothing's happening, okay? I'm just enjoying new friendships. Besides, aren't I here to have fun? Isn't this why you brought me here? I nod, feeling a little stupid. Of course she's right. I should be glad that she is having fun and enjoying her vacation. I just can't shake this feeling of anxiety. I take a deep breath and put on a smile. You're right, Rose. Sorry. I'm just worried about you, that's all. She leans over and kisses me softly on the lips. I know you're worried, Will, and that's one of the reasons why I love you. But seriously, it's okay. Now let's enjoy our lunch and forget about those guys, okay? I nod, deciding to put my worries aside and focus on the present. We continue to eat, laughing and joking as usual. But throughout the meal and during the walk back to the hotel, I notice that she is constantly texting on her phone. I can't help but wonder if these guys are texting her again. I push the thought away, convincing myself that she can be trusted. When we return to the resort, we kiss goodbye. Don't stay locked in that room all day, okay? I want you to go out and have fun. I told her. I will, Captain, she answers. I watch her walk to the elevator to go back up to our room, then head towards the conference room for the seminar. Rose. When the door slams, I make a sign and then collapse on the bed. I feel bad that I lied to Will. I told him nothing happened when something definitely did. I feel guilty and ashamed, and my motivation to do anything evaporates. I know I have to tell him the truth, but I also know that if he finds out, it will ruin the rest of our vacation. I know what I did last night was wrong, but every time I think about it, I can't help but get excited. Carlos was rough, confident, dominant, everything Will is not. He took control. He made me feel things I had never felt before. I loved every moment of it. I liked being dominated, being used for my own pleasure. It was exciting, liberating. I have never felt so alive, wanted, seen. I can still feel his hands on me, his lips on mine. I can still hear his voice, so demanding. I can't stop thinking about it. What's wrong with me? I shout at myself. I have never cheated in any relationship I have been in, and loyalty has always been important to me. Growing up as a Christian, I always thought I had a good moral sense. So why was it different this time? How was I so easily convinced to change? Part of me thinks I have some strange, unspoken desire to be wanted by these older men. They are all well established, with successful careers and wealth. Am I interested in the fact that such elite people are interested in me? Is this the norm for some? The fact that I doubt myself bothers me. I feel like I've been on a roller coaster, and now that it's slowly rising to the top, it's too late to get off. Suddenly, my phone rings. Writes a message from an unknown number. "Good morning, Rose. This is Paul. Carlos gave me your number. I hope you don't mind. Hope William is okay. Noticed he had a little too much to drink last night, haha. The boys and I went out to grab something to eat, but now we're going to go to one of the country clubs I own. It's only about a 15-minute drive, give or take depending on traffic. I'll be glad if you join us. This is a great place. It has its own golf course, bar, swimming pool, and more. We plan to hang out by the pool and relax today." I look at the message, my heart pounding in my chest. Should I be worried that Carlos gave away my number so easily? And I can't believe they're asking me to hang out again, especially after what happened last night with Carlos. Does Paul know what happened last night? Is this some kind of test? Or worse, a trap? My mind fills with questions, each more paranoid than the last. I shouldn't go. I know I shouldn't. But after rereading the message, I can't ignore the excitement flowing through me at the thought of spending another day with them. The way they made me feel yesterday, alive, wanted, seen, it's intoxicating. Guilt torments me, but so does curiosity. What else am I planning to do today? I find myself starting to type the answer before I can stop. Sounds fun. What time? I press send, my heart pounding in my chest. I can't believe I'm doing this. But while I wait for Paul's answer, I can't deny the excitement that's inside me. I'm playing with fire, and I know it. But I can't stop myself. What's wrong with me? My phone rings with a new message. "Great. Meet me in the lobby in about 15 minutes. Can't wait to see you again, darling." He immediately sends a second message. "Oh, and Rose, wear that little yellow bikini we bought you yesterday. You look damn edible in it." His directness surprises me. I know I should tell him, "Okay, that's enough," after such a comment, but something about him attracts me. I barely know this man, and he talks to me like we're close. I want him to do it again. I get up to straighten myself out, my mind full of anticipation and anxiety. I put on my bikini, admiring myself in the mirror. The top ties around the neck and back, leaving little to the imagination. The bottom is just as revealing, rising high on the hips and practically leaving the buttocks bare. It's practically a tango. I blush as I remember trying it on in front of investors, their approving glances making me feel like a goddess. I haven't gotten around to wearing it yet. Looks like today is the day. I put on my cape, grab my beach bag, put on a pair of goggles, and head downstairs. When I get out of the elevator, I immediately see them. They're all dressed casually in swim shorts and polos and look like they've just stepped out of the pages of a magazine. A very expensive magazine, something like Vogue or Elle. Carlos notices me first, his eyes widening as he takes in my appearance. He says something to the others, and everyone turns their attention to me, their gazes greedy and passionate. Paul steps forward, grinning. We all greet each other and get into the black G-Wagon to drive to the country club. "Is this your car, or are you just renting it?" I ask Paul, who is sitting behind the wheel. "This beauty is mine. In fact, I bought it last year," he says, looking at me through the mirror with a friendly smile on his face. We arrived at the club, and it was even more impressive than I could have imagined. A luxurious, tropical oasis in the middle of a bustling city, with swaying palm trees and the sound of water crashing in the distance. The golf course is immaculately manicured, with perfectly manicured greens and pristine white sand traps. The bar is stylish and modern, with a bartender behind the counter ready to mix any drink you want. The pool is excellent, equipped with a diving board, slide, hot tub, and every type of inflatable you can dream of. The only drawback is that it is a little crowded. Paul is meeting the staff as we enter. I start to walk towards the pool area when Paul stops me. Wait, we are not going to this pool. I have a VIP area with an equally amazing pool, and we will be alone. Paul winks at me, leading us to a secluded area of the country club. The others follow him, their eyes fixed on my body. I feel the heat of their gazes, and it runs down my spine. It's dangerous territory, but I can't tear myself away. As we approach the VIP area, I realize Paul wasn't exaggerating. It's like stepping into a private paradise. The pool is crystal clear, surrounded by plush sun loungers and shady cabanas. There is a private bar in the corner stocked with an array of premium spirits and exotic fruits. Paul motions for us to get comfortable. Help yourself to anything. Drinks, snacks, towels, everything is here for you. I take a towel and lay it out on one of the sun loungers, settling down on it with a contented sigh. I take off my cape to reveal a yellow bikini. Immediately, I feel all the guys looking at me, admiring the view. I try to pretend I don't notice. Carlos approaches me with 2 glasses of tequila sunrise. He hands one to me, and I take a sip, the sweet liquor exploding on my tongue. This is delicious, I mutter, taking another sip. Carlos sits on the lounge next to me, leaning on one elbow and looking at me. Glad you like it. This is one of my favorites. I thought you'd like it too. I smile at him, feeling a flutter in my stomach at his presence. Thank you, Carlos. That was very nice of you. He shrugs, a grin playing at the edges of his mouth. What can I say? I like to take care of beautiful women. I roll my eyes, but I can't help the redness that spreads across my cheeks. Paul comes and sits on the other end of me, followed by John. The other 3 men, Damien, Stevie, and Peter, jump into the pool. You should put on sunscreen. It won't take long to get sunburned here, suggests Paul. I'm already applying for it, Carlos says, getting up and heading inside. He comes back with some kind of cream. Let me help you with this, Carlos says, squeezing sunscreen onto his hands. Before I can protest and tell him that I have cream in my bag, he begins to rub it on my shoulders, his strong hands kneading the muscles. I'm tense at first, but his touch feels so good that I soon relax. He moves down my arms, then up my neck, his fingers brushing against my skin, sending shivers down my spine. I feel the other guys watching us, their gazes intense. I glance at Paul and see a grin on his lips. I look away, cheeks turning red. Carlos' hands move lower, tracing the straps of my bikini. You know, I've been thinking about this all morning, he whispers, his voice low. About how much I want to see you in this bikini. Touch you, taste you. Carlos' hands slide, touching the sides of my breasts. I gasp, my body tense at the unexpected contact. His eyes meet mine, there's a challenge in them. Oops, he grins, without removing his hands. Instead, he continues to apply sunscreen to my skin, his fingers slowly moving along the curves of my body, leaving behind warm, weightless touches. I glance at Paul, who is watching us carefully. His grin disappears and his gaze becomes intense and focused. I know I should stop this, but I can't bring myself to move. Carlos' touch is too relaxing, too confident to resist. I take a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. Carlos, maybe I should myself. I begin, my voice sounding quieter than I planned. He leans closer, his breath tickling my ear. No, I'm almost finished, he says firmly, but softly. His movements remain measured and confident, and each new gesture seems too long, too intimate. My muscles tense from the unexpected proximity, but I can't find the strength to stop him. The space around us is compressing, and I feel the air getting heavier, filled with something elusive but obvious. Carlos, I warn, my voice barely audible. He looks at me, his eyes dark with desire. Quiet, he says, placing his finger on my lips. Just relax, Rose. Let me take care of you. I take a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. It's hard to believe that I'm allowing this to happen, but it's impossible to stop. He finishes applying the cream to the front of my body and asks me to roll over onto my stomach. I hesitate for a moment, but curiosity gets the better of me and I comply. He sits down next to me and begins to apply the cream to my back, his confident hands moving along my spine, relieving tension from every muscle knot. His thumbs press gently but firmly on the tense areas, causing my body to gradually relax. It reaches the base of the back and smoothly moves to the sides, following smooth, measured movements. His massage movements are a real skill. Time seems to slow down, and I allow myself to completely relax, trusting in his confident hands. At the end, he pats me lightly on the shoulder, letting me know that the procedure is complete. I exhale and open my eyes, feeling a pleasant warmth and lightness throughout my body. "That's it," he says with a smug grin. "Everything is ready." He jumps off me, leaving me horny and confused. I roll over, looking at him with anger. It was cruel. "I have a boyfriend, you know," I say firmly, my voice out of breath. He just laughs, a deep, sexy laugh that sends shivers down my spine. "So what? He's not here now, is he?" he remarks. "Besides, you seem to be having a rather pleasant time." I look at him with irritation, my cheeks flushed with anger and embarrassment. I lean back in my chair and close my eyes. I can feel the guys coming in and out of the pool while I'm sunbathing. Every 10 minutes or so I turn over to tan the other side. After half an hour, I decided to swim a little. I get up and walk towards the pool, feeling eyes on me. I can't help but feel awkward knowing everyone is watching me. I take a deep breath and dive in, the cool water enveloping me and washing away all my worries. I float up, pushing my hair away from my face, and see Stevie swim up to me. He pokes me in the chest with his finger. "Tag, you're in," he says and leaves. The others laugh. "Looks like we're playing tag by the pool," Damien shouts. I can't help but laugh along with them as everyone runs around the pool. The closest one to me is John, so I swim behind him. I manage to corner him and touch him, then move away. "Hey, it's not fair," he begs. I laugh as I swim as fast as I can. "Sorry, John," I shout over my shoulder. It's every man for himself here. While I swim, I feel the sun beating down on my skin and the cool water refreshing my body. I dive below the surface, enjoying the feeling of weightlessness, and then emerge. We all get tagged several times during the game. I can't help but notice that they target different parts of my body each time. Most often they touched my hand. But one day Paul cornered me and touched me on the thigh. And another time, Carlos cornered me and touched me on my stomach. Their touch gave me goosebumps. I liked it. After a few more rounds of tag, Paul calls us to the edge of the pool. "Okay, everyone, time for a quick break," he says, picking up the joint. "Who's ready to smoke?" Others are happy, and I can't help but feel excited too. "I don't even remember the last time I smoked," I exclaim. "Do you rarely smoke?" asks Paul. "I smoked weed a lot in college, but not as much anymore because Will doesn't like it when I smoke." The men laugh. "Well, today you're hanging out with real men," Damien comments. "Hey, that's not very nice." "Will is a real man," the guys continue to laugh and roll their eyes. Paul lights a joint and takes a drag from it before passing it to me. I hesitate for a moment, glancing at the others. My mind remembers what Will said earlier about not trusting these men. But in some strange way, I still trust. "Come on, take a puff," Damien encourages me. I take the joint from Paul and bring it to my lips, inhaling deeply. The smoke fills my lungs, bitter and acrid. I cough and my eyes water. Guys find it funny and tease me for being such a weakling. But as the high begins to set in, I feel a wave of calm wash over me. Everything seems slower, more conscious. The colors of the pool and the trees around us become brighter and more vibrant. I feel like I see the world from a new angle, more sensual. Guys are starting to ask me more personal questions. "So, what are your favorite hobbies?" Stevie asks, blowing smoke out of his mouth. "I like to sing. People always say that I have a good voice. But I also love hiking, traveling, reading, going to bars with friends. I laugh. I also play guitar and piano. Damien's face lights up. Are you eating? Cool. You should sing some tunes for us. I burst into tears, shaking my head. No, it will be so awkward. Come on, sing for us, Rose, John adds, increasing the pressure. Maybe another time, I say, doubting that will ever happen. I'm starting to lose track of time. Paul approaches me, his voice low and husky. You look beautiful, Rose, he says. He runs his finger down my arm, sending shivers down my spine. I lean towards him, my body reacting to his touch without thinking. He puts his arm around my shoulders. I don't react. It's nice. The jam continues to be transmitted. Do you want to go to the hot tub? Paul whispers in my ear. I nod my head. This sounds tempting right now. Paul passes the joint to Stevie, then leaves the pool. He extends his hand to help me up. I stumble a little as I walk, so Paul holds my hand to guide me. As we walk, I notice that the other guys aren't following us. I look back and see that they are still in the pool, looking at my ass as I walk away. They won't come with us? I ask. Paul shakes his head, a small smile playing on his lips. No, this is just for us. I'd like some privacy with you. I blush slightly, looking away. Solitude indeed. I can't help but wonder what exactly he's planning. But as we approach the hot tub, my thoughts are interrupted by the sight in front of me. The hot tub is located in a secluded corner of the VIP area, surrounded by lush greenery and twinkling fairy lights. Steam rises from the water, inviting us closer. It looks incredibly tempting, and I can already feel the tension in my mind starting to melt away. Paul helps me into the bath, his hands lingering on my waist a little longer than necessary. I plunge into the warm water with relief, feeling it envelop me like a hug. Paul sits down next to me, his arm wrapping around my shoulders and pulling me close. I freeze for a moment, stunned by his sudden closeness, but then I relax, my body adjusting to him. His thumb strokes my arm, sending shivers down my spine. See, isn't this wonderful? He mutters, his breath hot against your ear. His other hand reaches under the water and cups my thigh. I nod, unable to speak, my heart beating in my chest. He leans closer, his lips touching my neck. Does William have any suspicions? He asks. About what? I ask. He can't ask what I think, can he? About what happened to Carlos last night. How? Did he tell you? Suddenly, embarrassment washed over me. Yes, he told us all. We were quite intrigued. You know, he's the one who noticed you the first night at the nightclub. He said you looked like you had potential. And after last night, you definitely showed it. What are you talking about? I ask, my voice tense. I wish I could say my mind has a million questions, but in reality, it can only focus on one at a time. Paul's grip on my thigh holds him tightly, and subconsciously my other leg moves, inviting him closer. We are no strangers to the art of seducing attractive young women. Believe me, Rose, you are not the first, and you will not be the last. Our goal is to awaken your sexual desires. Carlos said you were a beast in bed last night, that you never get tired and are always ready for more. It sounds like you're a very sexy creature, my dear, but it seems like you're not used to finding true satisfaction at home. It seems William is unable to satisfy you properly. The hand on my thigh slowly rises. Did he just say what I think? That they regularly seduce young women like me. And what did Carlos tell them about? About what happened between us last night? My cheeks are flushed with embarrassment and anger. How dare they talk about me like I'm just a conquest? It's like I'm not even here. I'm shaking. But even though it's completely wrong, it also increases my arousal. What's wrong with me? I need to get out of here, leave this place. But why does my body want to stay? Now, Rose, he says, his voice calm and even, as if he hadn't just dropped a bombshell. We don't want to cause harm. We saw something special in you, and we wanted to help you explore this. You are a young, beautiful woman with an air of innocence. You deserve only the best. I look at him, speechless. This week, let us awaken your sensuality. His hand gently slides down, making me hold my breath. He leans over and kisses me. The kiss is soft, tender, and exactly what I have longed for so long. I dissolve in this moment. My body involuntarily reaches out to him. There is a storm raging inside me, a struggle between reason and desire. I kiss Will often, but now it feels different, exciting, even a little dangerous. I pull away, feeling my heart pounding wildly in my chest and my breathing coming in short gasps. I can't, I whisper. I love Will. Paul nods, understanding in his eyes. I know, he says, but you can love him and still have fun with us. It's just sex. He leans in again, his lips touching mine. We're not trying to ruin anything with William. We're actually trying to improve it. His kiss gets harder, and I can't help but respond. My body is on fire, burning with a desire that I have never experienced before. Well, never until last night, at least. I moan in his arms, my fingers tightening on his shoulders. We are torn apart, gasping for breath. Paul presses his forehead to mine, his eyes clouded with passion. I noticed the way you looked at us that night at the club. Paul's voice sounds low and confident. His gaze pierces me as if he sees right through me. You like it when older men pay attention to you, right? His words sting, and I feel my breath hitch. Something primal, unclear, but exciting rises inside. Perhaps. My voice sounds quieter than I expected. Paul grins, his smile full of confidence and inner strength. He comes closer, and there is almost no space between us. I feel the warmth of his body, the tension in the air impossible to ignore. Good girl, he says, and there is something more hidden in these words. His hands find my waist, and he gently but firmly turns me back to him. My palms rest on the edge of the pool, and the cool water ripples slightly around us. All I can feel now is his presence and the magnetic force that seems to draw me to him. Relax, he whispers, and there's a promise in that tone. Time seems stretched out, and every movement, every look is filled with meaning. His confident gestures make me forget about everything except the two of us. The water around us reflects the flickering lights, creating the illusion of a secluded world where there is no one but us. My heart is beating fast, my breathing is becoming ragged, and my emotions are overwhelming. Paul leads us forward, confidently but carefully, never losing control. His voice sounds somewhere nearby. Everything is fine. Yes, I answer, almost lost in the sensations. Moments merge into one whole, and the world ceases to exist outside of this moment. A wave of pleasure covers me, and I involuntarily close my eyes, allowing myself to dissolve in this feeling. When it's over, the silence seems almost deafening. Paul remains close by, his hands still holding me, supporting and protecting me. He doesn't say anything, but his look says more than any words. We stay like this for a few more moments before reality slowly comes back to us. The water in the pool calms, and I take a deep breath before turning to face him. Thank you, I whisper, and he smiles, as if he understands everything without words. This moment is ours, and it will remain with us for a long time, imprinted in our memory as something special and intimate. Leaning towards me, Paul whispers in my ear, "Don't tell him, Rose. I want to see how long we can hide this until he figures it out himself. And when he understands, that's when the real fun begins. I love turning guys and husbands into cuckolds." Oh my God, he's talking about Will. He doesn't want me to tell him. Who are cuckolds? I ask. I'll tell you another time, Paul laughs. He looks at me with a smile, then steps out of the jacuzzi, picking up his shorts. His confidence and charm remain the same, even as he helps me up with his hand outstretched. I take it, feeling a slight trembling in my legs from the long time in warm water. Quickly adjusting my swim trunks, I smile back. Very soon you will be ready to join the others. Come on, let's go, Paul says, leading me to the exit of the jacuzzi area. I nod and follow him, feeling warmth and lightness in every step. Paul puts his arm around my shoulders and leads me back to the pool, his hand on the small of my back. When we approach the others, I notice their glances. They are tense and understanding. My face turns red, I suddenly feel embarrassed about what we just did. I pull away from Paul, take a towel, and wrap myself in it. I check my phone and notice a missed call and a message from Will. He wrote that he had just finished work and was asking where I was. I send him a quick reply. Hey, sorry, I lost track of time. Paul invited me to spend time at one of the golf clubs that he owns. I'll be home soon. Guys, I need to go back to the hotel. Will is free, I say, my voice shaking slightly. Carlos gets out of the pool and takes the phone from his sun lounger. I'll order you an Uber. Let's go dry off, he says, and leads me towards the clubhouse. I quickly say goodbye to the others and follow Carlos, my heart pounding. When we enter the building, he suddenly turns left and drags me into some kind of VIP locker room. I stutter in surprise, my eyes wide. Carlos, what are you doing? I whisper. He turns around and I see darkness and tension in his gaze. I'm going to order you an Uber. But first. Carlos looks at me with tension in his eyes, his gaze skimming my face before he steps closer. I can't just let you go. Carlos, no, we can't. I begin, trying to remain calm. What happened yesterday? It was a mistake. We shouldn't have. But he doesn't let me finish. His hands gently cup my face, and before I know what's happening, his lips are on mine. At first I hesitate, but then something inside me gives in. The kiss is insistent but gentle, his breath mingling with mine, and the slight taste of what we smoked before leaves a strange sensation on my tongue. Carlos pulls away, his chest heaving, and something unclear is read in his eyes, a mixture of desire and regret. I know how you feel, Rose. His voice sounds hoarse, almost a whisper. Don't run away from it. Everything inside me is turning over. The voice of reason says one thing, but the heart and body say something completely different. For a moment there is silence between us, full of unspoken words and suppressed emotions. I take a deep breath, trying to sort out my feelings, but there is still no answer. Carlos grins, a lustful light dancing in his eyes. Good girl, he whispers, his fingers gently but firmly squeezing my hair. He pulls me closer, his movements insistent but controlled. Excitement grows in your chest, your breathing becomes labored, and your thoughts are confused. Memories of last night pop up in your mind, causing a slight blush on your cheeks. But now there is no time to indulge in thoughts. All my attention is focused on him, on this moment. His movements are smooth and measured. He sets a rhythm that I obediently follow, trying to catch his every desire. This is all Carlos, domineering, merciless, rude. And Paul is more gentle, caring, and understanding. They're complete opposites, but that's what turns me on. I need this balance. I didn't realize this until today. Maybe Paul is right. Maybe there really is a dormant sexual being inside me that is only now awakening. I look up at Carlos. There is genuine passion in his eyes. I'm the one making him feel this way. Taking a deep breath, I continue, trying to catch his every reaction. His hand tightens his grip on my hair. That's it, Rose. His voice sounds hoarse, breaking into a groan. The air is filled with the aroma of chlorinated water and something more personal, intimate. It's a strange combination, but it has an almost hypnotic effect on me. My movements become more confident. I enjoy every moment of his reaction. However, suddenly Carlos reaches for the phone. I'll order an Uber, he says, his eyes still fixed on me. Don't stop. A slight irritation runs through me from his inattention. I decide to remind him of myself more persistently, and his reaction is not long in coming. A deep groan escapes his lips. Damn, Rose. You're incredible. His words add confidence to me. Everything around seems to disappear, just the two of us and this electrified space between us. I am focused on his every breath, every movement. His breathing becomes labored, his shoulders shake, and his voice becomes strained. Rose. His sentence breaks off, and time freezes for several long seconds. The silence is broken only by our heavy breathing. He leans back, closing his eyes. His fingers touch my face softly, as if thanking me for something important. I grin and lean back, letting the moment fade into the silence around us. There is still tension in the air, but now it takes on soft, peaceful shades. "We have to go," Carlos says, in a voice in which the echo of past intimacy can still be heard. I nod, feeling pleased that I was able to make such an impression on him. "That was great." Carlos says, pulling his swim trunks back on. "Your taxi will be here in 10 minutes. Have a nice evening, Rose." He approaches the door, but stops and turns around. "Oh yes, one more thing." I turn to him, still on my knees. "Don't rinse your mouth or do anything. I want you to give William a good kiss with my marks." Carlos grins and leaves. I sit there for a couple more minutes, trying to process what just happened. I can't shake the feeling of anxiety. What have I done? And what will happen next? I stand up, my legs give way slightly. I look in the mirror to make sure there are no marks left on my face. Nothing is visible. My reflection looks back at me. My cheeks are flushed, my lips are swollen, my hair is disheveled. I look different, like a woman who has just been thoroughly fucked. I turn on the tap and wet my hands with cold water, trying to feel cleaner. I take a deep breath, preparing for what awaits me. I need to see Will, and I have no idea what I'll tell him. I take a towel, dry my hands, and leave the locker room, my heart beating like crazy. Outside, the bright Florida sun momentarily blinds me. I shield my eyes from the sunlight and look for my Uber. I notice a car at the side of the road. The driver is leaning against the back, scrolling through something on his phone. I approach, trying to maintain calm in my movements, although everything inside is turning over. When I approach, he looks up and smiles welcomingly. "Rose?" asks, checking the name on the order. I nod and squeeze out a weak smile in response. Does he really realize that I just had sex? As we drive back to the hotel, I press my forehead against the glass. Cars outside the window float by in blurry spots. I'm still slightly high, otherwise the stress would be stronger. My thoughts go back to what Paul said. What other world was he talking about? And what are cuckolds if he's so eager to turn Will into one? Looks like we'll have to wait and see what he's up to. And although this scares me, I cannot deny that it arouses interest in me. I've never been like this before. I was the epitome of the ideal girl. I never cheated or even flirted with other guys. How could I fall into this so quickly and deeply? I swallow, trying to drown out the guilt. You need to somehow get yourself together before meeting Will and behave as usual. But how can I be the same after everything that happened? William. It almost makes my heart sink when Rose says she's hanging out with those guys again. I understand that I should trust her, but I can't get rid of the gnawing feeling of jealousy and insecurity. I try to distract myself by watching TV in our hotel room, but my thoughts keep returning to her. Is she really laughing and drinking now in the company of these wealthy, charismatic men? I see how their hands touch her, how their glances undress her, and I begin to feel sick with jealousy. I understand that I'm being stupid, but I can't help myself. I love Rose, and the thought of someone else claiming her is unbearable. Suddenly, I realize that I am excited. Damn, I curse to myself. I try to switch to a show on TV, but 10 minutes pass, and I can't stand it anymore. I go to the bathroom and pull down my pants. The memory of Rose dancing with Carlos in a nightclub flashes before her eyes. There was clearly a spark between them, as if they had known each other for many years. I think about what happened when I didn't see them. Perhaps he lifted her skirt, grabbed her ass, pulled her close, and kissed her soft lips. Maybe his hand made its way to her breast and squeezed it. And then an idea comes to mind. I go out and take her yesterday's thong panties out of the dirty laundry bag, return to the bathroom, and start caressing myself again, squeezing her panties in my other hand. I imagine 6 investors surrounding Rose. Their looks are full of desire, and the atmosphere is tense to the limit. Carlos places a confident hand on her waist. Paul moves closer to her face. Damien takes her chin possessively, and John stands nearby, watching with a dark grin. Stevie takes a step forward, and Peter smiles smugly, as if he's already won. These thoughts are overwhelming me. I take a deep breath, trying to compose myself. What came over me? I quickly clean myself up, put Rose's item back in the bag, and sit down on the bed, trying to act natural. But the feeling of embarrassment does not leave me. Why did I let myself go this far? If Rose ever found out that I fantasized about something like that, she would probably be shocked. Time passes, it's already about 6:30 when I hear the lock turning and Rose entering the room. She looks cute in her cape over her bikini. I went up to meet her. "Hello, baby. You look great," I exclaim. She is embarrassed. She is generally shy about compliments. And then she reaches out to me and kisses me. I was taken aback for a moment, but immediately responded by hugging her waist. Her lips are soft and familiar, but today there is something unusual in the taste. Sweetish, but slightly bitter with a salty tint. I pull away, frowning in confusion. She looks at me carefully, almost as if she is looking into my soul. Does she seem excited? Rose takes off her cape and my jaw drops when I see her in a yellow bikini. "Wow, baby, you look amazing. When did you manage to buy such a swimsuit?" "The guys gave it to me yesterday when we were shopping," she answers, as if nothing had happened. "Oh," I say, and anxiety runs through me. "So, how was your day at the pool? You said Paul has his own club?" I start to stutter. Damn, why am I so nervous? Meanwhile, she takes off her swimsuit. "It was great. Yes, it turns out Paul owns a lot of stuff. The rest of the guys too. But this place is cool, you'd love it." I try to ask for details, but she interrupts me by kissing me again. And again, I feel this strange taste. "Darling, enough questions. I'm fine. Let's better think about where we'll go for dinner. Today, it's just the two of us, the whole evening." I hug her bare buttocks. "I have a couple of ideas about what we can do." She laughs. "Then maybe. Maybe. So she doesn't really want sex today? Okay, at least I managed to satisfy myself earlier. Only one day left. And then we'll have the whole day alone," I whisper in her ear. "Indeed, tomorrow is Wednesday, the last day of the seminar. So we can do whatever we want on Thursday, and then we have a flight back to Maryland on Friday morning." "I can't wait," she smiles, so warm and attractive. The rest of the evening passed peacefully. We went to a Greek restaurant and walked around the city. We returned late, around 11, watched a little TV, and went to bed. But I noticed all evening that she was often on the phone. Finally, I couldn't stand it and asked who she was constantly corresponding with so actively. She answered without taking her eyes off the screen. "Yes, with friends." All night William tossed and turned in bed, his mind tormented by restless thoughts. Rose seemed to be sleeping peacefully next to him, her face peaceful and her breathing even. But something inside him haunted him. This strange taste on her lips, her aloofness and constant correspondence on the phone, all this added up to a picture that he was afraid to examine in full. In the morning, he woke up first and watched Rose for a while. She looked so beautiful in the morning light, her hair disheveled on the pillow and her lips slightly parted in her sleep. But even this image could not dispel the heavy feeling in his chest. "Good morning," he said quietly as she began to wake up. "Hello," she smiled, stretching. "How did you sleep?" "Not bad. What about you?" "Great," she replied, looking away. The entire breakfast passed in tense silence. William tried to carry on a conversation, but Rose answered in short phrases. She was back on her phone, occasionally giggling at the messages she had received. In the end, he couldn't stand it. "Who do you correspond with all the time?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "Oh, just with friends from the office," she muttered, putting the phone away. But he knew that this was not true. He felt it. William left for the last day of his seminar, but his mind was anywhere but in the conference room. Every word of the speakers passed him by, and scenes from the nightclub, Rose's dancing with Carlos, her mysterious correspondence, and that strange taste on her lips were replaying in his head. Meanwhile, Rose again received a message from Carlos. "Today is our last day in Miami. We're throwing a party in the penthouse of the hotel. Join us. No one will know." Her heart began to beat faster. She knew she shouldn't go. She knew that William trusted her, but something inside her screamed, "Go. Once again. For the last time." William returned to the room and found that Rose was not there. There was a note on the bed. "Darling, I decided to go shopping and check out the spa. I'll be back late. Don't wait for me. I love you." His heart sank. He rushed to the phone and dialed her number, but the call went straight to voicemail. Panic began to rise within him. "Damn," he whispered. He began rummaging through her belongings and came across one of the bags from a luxury boutique. There was something small and black inside, a set of lace lingerie that he had never seen before. "What's going on, Rose?" he muttered. Rose stood at the bar with a glass of champagne in her hand. Carlos came up behind her and put his hand on her waist. "You've come," he whispered in her ear. This is wrong, Carlos," she replied, trying to avoid his gaze. "But you are here, Rose. So this is what you want." His voice was soft but confident. The party continued. There were expensive drinks, music, and laughter all around. But Rose couldn't shake the feeling of guilt. It seemed to her that William was looking at her right now, that he knew she was there. "I need to go," she suddenly said. "Stay," Carlos said, leaning closer. "No, I can't." She broke free and ran out of the penthouse. When she entered the room, William was sitting on the bed, his gaze heavy. "Where have you been?" he asked. His voice was quiet, but there was steel in it. I was at the spa," she began, but her voice trembled. "Don't lie to me, Rose." He rose to his feet. "I know you were with them. I know you're hiding something." Tears came to her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "What happened, Rose?" His voice was full of pain. Did you cheat on me?" She covered her face with her hands and burst into tears. "I don't know what came over me. I don't know why I did it." Silence hung in the air. William turned to the window, his shoulders slumping. "I loved you, Rose." His voice was barely audible. She walked up to him and put her hand on his shoulder, but he pulled away. "Go away," he said. "William, please." Her voice trembled. "Go away, Rose. I need time." She stood there, unable to move. But then, with a heavy heart, she picked up her bag and walked out the door. William was left alone in the room, looking at the Miami night through the window. His mind was blank and his heart was broken. Rose, meanwhile, walked down the dark corridor of the hotel. Her thoughts were confused, and tears flowed down her cheeks. This night changed them both, perhaps forever. But whether this is the end of their story or just the beginning of a new chapter, time will tell. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one.